indeed. Now, Torres Strait Islander Thomas Mayer spent 18 months travelling around Australia to garner support for an Indigenous voice to Parliament.
Now, Thomas has put that journey into writing in his first book, Finding the Heart of the Nation. And he joins us now. Thomas, good morning. Welcome to breakfast.
Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So whereabouts did you go when you set off on this, and how long were you travelling for?
Well, the first place I took it to was to the Gurindji people, where the Wave Hill Walk-Off happened, Kalkarindji and Dargaragu, for the 51st anniversary. I thought that was a fitting place to take it to. And there was great support there, and then to other remote Indigenous communities in the Kimberley and the Pilbara. And then it just was towns and cities and conferences, and just tried to start building a people's movement for this important reform.
And what were you trying to achieve in terms of, I guess, the broader push to establish a voice for Indigenous people?
Yeah, well, the Uluru Statement calls for a First Nations voice enshrined in the Constitution, and the politicians have not indicated that they support that. In fact, the government at the moment is walking away from it. So the Australian people need to get behind it, and the intent of taking the Uluru Statement to the people was to inspire people to go and fight for this.
What do you say to people who suggest that it's just symbolism?
Well, symbolism isn't accepted by our people, and that's been very clear throughout the process. And the Uluru Statement calls for substantive reform, and so that's what we're pushing for a voice enshrined in the Constitution.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on, Liz.
No, well, just that you already indicated that the chances of that happening at the moment, certainly, are pretty slim. What makes you hold out hope?
Oh, well, everywhere I've been. So this great tour that I've had, talking to more than 10,000 Australians, indicates to me that this is a reform that people will accept. It's just the willpower of the politicians that is lacking, and that's for us to push them and push them hard. And there's a co-design process coming up, so we've got to engage in that and say that the Uluru Statement got it right, and this is a reform that we must do. And
you're after a referendum because there is talk of simply legislating to deal with this. A referendum, in your view, is the only way of dealing with it?
Yeah, well, our collective experience at Uluru and the lead up to that, an unprecedented process, has informed us that our representative bodies of the past have all been destroyed by the whims of Parliament. And so if it's not constitutionally enshrined, it might not be in my lifetime, it might be in my grandchildren's lifetime that everything that we build will be pulled down again by a hostile government. So we must enshrine First Nations voices in the Constitution. Also, I mean, we need to remember that the Constitution in 1901 excluded Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people on the basis that we were meant to be a dying race. But we've survived, and we continue, and it's time to right that wrong, and put our voices, and accept our culture, the 60,000 years of culture.
It's a terrific book with some great pictures. You travelled, as we said, right across the country. Were you surprised, and you met some great Indigenous Australians in the press, surprised by the diversity of Indigenous communities in Australia?
Well, I was really, I thought that the stories might be too similar. I've interviewed 19 people and in addition, the artist and a few others. But these 19 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders have all different stories. They're unique in their ways that, what they've experienced, the impact of colonisation, but also the way that their families are today, their aspirations, their hope. They're just wonderful stories that were different, and really, I encourage people to read this.
Thomas, can I just ask you on a sort of side matter? We've seen over the last few days pictures of the crowds of people walking to the top of Uluru at the moment before the ban comes in. What are your thoughts about that?
It absolutely disgusts me. It really disgusts me as, not only as an Indigenous person, but as an Australian. The sense of decency, where is it? I mean, the traditional owners, the people that have been custodians of that place for tens of thousands of years, have respectfully asked that people do not climb it. And yet, there's this mad rush to disrespect this really generous people, the Anangu people. I think it's disgraceful, and I'm looking forward to it being closed down.
Does it make you fear, though, that we have a long way to go in this country?
Look, it's a mixture of people there. I think it's a small percentage of people today, ultimately, that have such a level of disrespect for Aboriginal people. I mean, I see this change. The tour around the country with the Uluru Statement showed me that Australian people are ready. There's been polling done that indicates, I know polling is unreliable, but you know, there is a movement in this country towards accepting this culture and really accepting an identity that we can be proud of.
Thomas Mayer, thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations on the book.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.